If you could talk to yourself from a year ago, what would you say? How would you feel? What would you think about the progress you made and how far you've come? Would you be proud? Would you know that you've given every single thing you got? Or would you feel like you left a little bit on the table? The fact alone that you are here right now is powerful, and it's more than enough reason to be grateful and get moving on whatever endeavors you have. But what if you could look back on the past year, or 2, or 3? What would you change? What would you do over? What do you know you could do better? A year always seems to fly by a lot quicker than what you realize. But what are the steps you're taking in order to make sure you don't fall into the same pitfalls that got you where you are? If you're happy with where you are, how do you build onto that? And how do you make sure that you're intentional about the things that you do? What about the way you spent the last day or week or month? Did you spend them in a way that was fulfilling and that honored who you truly are and what you're about and the things that you're trying to achieve? Or do you know you could have done better? If you had the ability to rewind your life and go back just 3 months, what would you say about the job you've done? What if you could see every single thing that you've done, said, thought, put time into everything? Would the ways in which you filled your time be efficient? Would it be effective? Did you give yourself the best chance at achieving those goals? Or did you leave a little bit of something on the table? How did you take inventory of your time? How much did you respect the beautiful gift that you've been given of the last 3 months, 5 months, 6 months, year, whatever time? Because none of us know how much time we have. It's imperative that we are hyper intentional about where we spend our time and taking inventory of said time. Time is so precious. And if you're truly serious about not only achieving your goals, but living the best and most fulfilling life possible, you want to have some sort of way of taking inventory and accountability of your time. Time is precious, especially how we choose to spend it. But what does yours say? Where are you spending your time? Is it intentional? Is it focused? Is it deliberate? Or are you just freestyling life? Are you just letting things go by? Where and how you choose to spend your time is going to tell a really accurate story about where you are right now. If you choose to do things that lead you towards greatness, you'll eventually get there. But if you choose to do things that hold you up and make it harder and make life more difficult, that's going to be what your destiny is. You get to choose. The problem is there's so many different temptations in our past that make it easy to get distracted. If there's only 24 hours a day and you're supposed to sleep for 7 to 8 hours, that only leaves 16 hours for you to be awake and getting done the things you need to do, whatever deadlines or goals you need to meet, whatever people you need to fill your time with, loving and spending it in the best way possible. For many people, you got a job, you got to work 8 hours. That's half of that 16 going already. 30 minutes going, 30 minutes back, that's another hour right there. You add the time it takes to drive and get ready, go to and from work, all these different things, your time quickly begins to evaporate. And so now more than ever, it's important that you are not only intentional with your time, but intentional with the things that take away from your time. And so today we want to talk about the idea of screen time, taking inventory and accountability of where you spend your time. When it comes down to it, our phones and laptops, tablets, whatever device you can think of, in many ways are beneficial, but they can also be distractions depending on what you allow them to be. So what are you choosing to do with your time, and how are you making sure that it's being filled up in the best way possible? And so if you're truly grateful for the beautiful gift that is time, why not take accountability? Why not take account of it? And why not do yourself a favor and get in control of your screen time? Right now, if you open up your phone and you check your screen time, what will it say? This is one of the most common things I'm always asking people. You constantly hear people talk about how they don't have time for X, Y, and Z, how there's never enough opportunity to get things done, to learn, to study, whatever. But what does that screen time say? If you got 10 hours of Facebook, if you got 30 hours of TikTok, if you got whatever, you can't really complain about not being where you want to be, because look at where you're spending your time, and it's so easy to be distracted by it. What if you set limits on how much time you spend on that screen time? What if you told yourself every single week, I'm only going to go over a certain amount of hours on these particular apps? What if you got in control of your life? Because we know for a fact that these apps are designed to be as addictive as possible. And the same thing goes for video games or whatever screen or technology you could think of. It's really easy to get wrapped up in these immersive experiences. But what happens when you start to lose so much time that you start to lose track of your own goals and focus? And I know because I've done it before. It's really easy to spend hours playing video games, hours scrolling through social media, because they're designed that way. Somebody has intentionally created these things with years of experience of research and dedication to make sure how do we keep people staying on whatever platform we have. Whether it's games, whether it's social media, whether it's TV, whatever. They're designed to be addictive. And so if we know that these things are designed to be addictive and we know that they're going to take away your time, it's so important that you're deliberate and intentional about setting limits on how much time you spend doing these things. I'm not calling them bad. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. I'm not saying to never indulge. What I'm saying is you got to have limits. You got to have some sort of guardrails to keep you from going too far. And the same can be true for the opposite. What if on your phone you could be reading and studying and doing something to get better, but all you're doing is distracting yourself with mindless entertainment? What should you really be doing? Should you be improving? Could you be getting better? Are you giving yourself the best chance at the best life you could possibly have? If everything is done, if all the work is handled, you got nothing but time on your hand to scroll, congratulations, you hit the life lotto. But for most people, that's not the case. For most people, you could stand to learn a thing or two. In fact, I would say for all people, you could probably stand to learn a thing or two. Much of social media is negativity, whether you're talking about a video game or a streaming platform, social media, your phone, whatever the case may be, these things are designed to give you constant hits of dopamine, tiny droppers, bit by bit by bit, never enough to fully satisfy you, always enough to keep you coming back for more. But eventually it takes away so much time that you start to lose out on the best that you could become. Be intentional about the time you spend on these screens. Don't allow them to steal your time if you didn't actually choose for it. And when I say screen time, it doesn't have to literally be a screen. Maybe you waste time doing a whole lot of nothing. Maybe the screens where you get distracted are the screens of your own eyes and you get distracted by everything. Now, of course, there are those people who will say, well, screen time isn't my problem. When we talk about screen time, ultimately what we're talking about is the idea of limiting distractions. The point is taking accountability and track of how you spend your time is critical if you want to be successful. What if you didn't mean to spend 6 hours doing nothing on social media? Technology can be like a double-edged sword. There's so much good that comes with it, but also there's so much distraction and negativity that could come with it too. But ultimately, it's up to the user how you choose to use it. If you choose to spend your time on your device being distracted and adding nothing, that's what you'll get, nothing. If you choose to do it adding things that are fruitful and positive, that's what you'll get too. Not only that, but this goes beyond simple productivity. It's so important to be intentional and aware of the things that you allow into your mind, your ears, your heart, your everything. There's so many different people trying to pull and tug at your attention, at your emotions. Many of them have the end goal of getting you to do something, whether it's to buy or spend or take action or do something. Many of these technologies aren't simply a one-off. If you got the streaming service, we want you to continue to pay for the streaming service, so we must make it as good as possible to keep you coming back. Social media, for the most part, is completely free. The companies that make the platforms are massive, with millions and sometimes billion-dollar budgets. How can you have that type of budget, that type of money, if your entire platform is based on freedom? Many of these platforms pay their creators, which I think is a really good thing. But again, if you have the money to do that, you gotta be generating income somehow, some way. And so if they're generating income, how are they doing it? The advertisements, getting you to buy more games, getting you to do more of something, influencing your action somehow, some way. Which may not be the worst thing, which might not always be a bad thing, but it's something you should certainly be aware of. If somebody's trying to get you to do something, wouldn't you want to know? If I told you that right now, there's somebody standing on the other side of your door and they're waiting on you to give them a few dollars. Doesn't matter what it's for, they just want a few dollars from you. It might be of value, it might not. It might take your time, it might not. But you know for sure they want it. You will be really suspicious of that person. But that's what a lot of this screen time and these things are. They're distractions that come with some sort of an obligation. If we're being honest about it. Even the free streaming services still come with advertisements. We want you to buy something. They all have some sort of an end goal. Their end goal isn't simply to make you happy, but it's to bring in some sort of revenue or some sort of benefit to themselves, which is something you just got to be aware of. Whenever the New Year's comes around, I think about gratitude and thankfulness and all the things that have occurred over the last year, but also how quickly it passed by. Well, if every single day we know how little time we have, but if you're like most people where you're working a job or you got a family, you got so many things going on, you only get really small pockets of time. And maybe the best thing to do is to be distracted and get that quick dopamine hit. But maybe there's something a bit more intentional. something a little better that you could be doing to get yourself closer to where you need to be? What if there's some studying you could do? What if there's a skill you can learn? What if there's a habit that you could break or develop? Wouldn't that make more sense than just being distracted? There's nothing wrong with watching TV. I play video games. But you gotta limit how much you do it, and you gotta be really intentional about it. One good way to do this is to make sure that every single day you're intentional with creating those goals. If every single day you have inventory of all the things you need to get done, and even better yet, you put a time limit to it, you make them SMART goals, for sure you'll have a much better chance of getting them done. And one of the goals can be, limit your screen time to X amount of time. There's nothing stopping you from factoring in that screen time into your goals. What happens if one of your goals is spend no more than an hour playing video games? Play the game, but don't do it forever. You got other things you need to get done. What if instead of playing video games until you're so tired you gotta quit, you set a limit? I'm only gonna play for 1 or 2 hours. Once the timer is up, I move on to the next thing. Or what if you say, I won't get on TikTok until all of my goals for the day are finished? If you treat it as a reward, it'll become that much better of a thing. So not only are you being intentional about how you spend your time, but why you spent it that way. Which leads to the next point. It's not enough to simply be intentional about how you spend the time, but you gotta be intentional about why you're doing it. A purpose is what should be driving you. A why is what should be your reason. And if you don't have a reason why you're being intentional about your time, it's gonna be hard to do it. If you don't have a specific reason that you know, why would you be deliberate about the way you spend your time? What would even be the point? There aren't too many things that are much more important than how you spend your time. In many ways, time is how we fill life with meaning. The times you had or didn't with your loved ones is the reason why you feel the way you do. The time you had in order to achieve your goals is the reason why you'll make it to the top. The time you get and the way you spend it is the formula for the results you get in life. If you spend your time intentional and deliberate, action-oriented, goal-oriented, focused, disciplined, dedicated, there's no way you won't get it. And a sad or good reality, depending on which side of the coin you look at it, is it's never been easier to be successful than it is today, but there's also never been more distractions. And not only are there distractions, but we have a hard time even acknowledging that they're distractions. How many people do you know actually know what their screen time is? The next time you're having a conversation with your friends and loved ones, ask them, how often do you check your screen time? What does it look like? If everybody around you, if your entire circle knows how they're spending their time and are intentional about it, how much more could we get done? It's a beautiful thing if you take advantage of yours, but what if everybody could do it? What if as many people as possible could understand this simple concept of simply being intentional with your time, which especially includes screen time, because it can be your biggest distraction or tool for success. Maybe if you're playing video games and you're streaming and you're making money, it's a good thing. Maybe you should be doing more. Maybe you should schedule it in. Maybe you miss streaming sessions and you need to schedule it in. At any rate, having a set schedule, having specific goals, and knowing how and where you're spending your time, especially screen time, is critical in this day and age. So why not learn it now and forever benefit? And again, are you using it for negativity and brain drain and nothingness? Or are you using it to elevate and get better and closer to your dreams? Because why shouldn't you? If you aren't in control of your time, who will be? The way you spend your time is everything. Our phones are captivating by design. Think about how often people miss the important moment recording it. You don't even actually see what happened because you got your phone up recording it. It's a beautiful thing to have a memory store, considering just how precious time is. Wouldn't it make sense to go through each and every app and ask, how much time am I spending on it? And exactly how beneficial is it to me? Answering those questions about the way you spend your free time, taking inventory of that precious time that you get to do whatever, might just be the difference between the life that you've been waiting on or stagnation. You get to choose. When it comes down to it, you can't buy or create more time. None of us know exactly how much we've been given. None of us are in control of exactly how much we have. So with the time that you've been given, with that precious gift that you've been blessed with, why not do the most with it? Why not do the best with it? And why not show yourself some love by doing what's right? Because right here, right now and today, it's the best time to start to become more efficient. If we're all given the same 24 hours and there's a way that you could be more efficient with it, how dare you not take it on the road to greatness? Maybe the few minutes a day you spend chilling and playing games and scrolling through social media gives you immense joy, and you only do it for a little bit. But chances are, if you're like most people, you're probably spending more time than is beneficial or necessary, and you could be spending time doing other things. If you know for a fact that there are things within your reach that you could get done that are related to your purpose, how could you not be doing them but also be distracted by your phone? And then what happens when you project out even further? I know so many people who every single week they're spending 30, 40 hours on social media. That's a whole day. If you're spending that much time distracted, you don't have a right to complain about not being where you want to be. You're literally taking one of the most precious gifts and doing nothing with it, or choosing to be distracted, which is your right, which is your option. But the great don't get to complain about not being where they want to be if they didn't put in the work. In fact, you don't get to call yourself great if you're not taking advantage and account of your time. I make these videos for people who want to do something great, who aspire to be something special, who know that they have it in them, they just need a little bit of extra push. And so if that's you, if this makes sense, congratulations, you found the right place. Because the sooner you get started, the better. If every single week you're spending 30 hours on social media, eventually that time spread out will amount to years and years of waste. At the beginning of this video, I talked about what if you could look back on the last 3 months, but what if you could look back at the last year or 3 or 5? How much screen time, if we extrapolate, how much screen time will be in there of you wasting it and doing nothing, or being distracted, or getting off task, or using a crutch, or making yourself upset, or stressing yourself out, or doing everything other than what's gonna benefit you in the long run. If it's a screen and it's not adding to you, it's a good chance it's taken away. It's possible to really win with these screens. I'm not saying they're bad. I'm saying you gotta be intentional and accountable with how you spend the time on them. Otherwise, the algorithms or whatever technology will choose for you. You don't want to be passive in life. You want to be intentional. Greatness and success isn't a passive thing. It's very much intentional. All of that preparation is going to matter once you finally get that opportunity. But we got to spend the time now preparing so that when it comes, you're ready. Can you imagine looking back over your life and knowing that you spend more time looking at funny videos on social media than you did spending it with loved ones? If you spent that much time distracted doing nothing, how much time are you spending doing things that matter most? How much time are you spending with loved ones? What happens when we add up your screen time and we compare it to the meaningful moments you had with loved ones this week? Which one is greater? Which one is more? Which one will matter more in the long run? Spend that time doing what matters. And if the screens and the games and the streaming and whatever is bringing you that much joy, maybe you're doing these things with family. The message today isn't that screens are bad, it's how you use them. If your idea of screen time is spending 3 or 4 hours playing video games with your friends, laughing and having a good time, those are the moments you'll never forget. I'm not saying that the screens are bad. I'm saying we got to be intentional about how we use them. I'm saying that using them for good is what we need to be focusing on. Using them for the best is where we need to be putting our attention. Nothing more, nothing less. Specifically when it comes to phone, screen time is so advanced, you can literally see what's the first app you open, what's the first thing you do once you open your phone. If every time you open your phone, it's a distraction or nothing, you could change it. You could flip the dynamic. You could literally create a goal today that says, I'm no longer going to open this app. If it's bad, you could delete it. If you need to change the app you open first, you could do it. But either way, knowing what's there and being intentional in this ever-evolving world of technology is going to lead you to the right path. Phones and technology are more powerful than ever. And I'm not saying that they're bad or that we shouldn't be using them. What I'm saying is that if you've been given a tool of such immense power, you got to be taught how to use it. And from the moment you're given a phone, nobody really teaches you how to use it. Nobody tells you how much screen time to use or even to check your screen time. Most people have no idea what their screen time is. Take accountability of yours. Know how screen time is impacting and affecting your life and watch how things begin to elevate. There's nothing wrong with being on screens, but how much time do you spend on them? Maybe you need to be outside a bit more and on your screens a little bit less. You can flip the dynamic, you can change things if you know what that time looks like and you're intentional and purpose driven. At the same time, the inverse could be true. You might spend too much time outside playing around and doing nothing, and you might need to be on that laptop, studying, putting in work, learning, getting better, whatever it takes. The point is you need to be accountable for whatever your screen time is and deliberate about the way you use it. Maybe the only free time is the 15 or 20 minutes you get while you're riding the bus. You could be learning something. You could be doing something to get closer to your goals. Be deliberate, be intentional, because we often get so little time to ourselves that if you don't take advantage of it, you'll never see those benefits. If with your time you're being intentional, you're making sure that it's full of the goals you set, the things that are important, the people that are important. When you have access to something powerful, you want to be aware of both the strengths and the weaknesses, the good and the bad. That way you don't fall victim to it. If you're not truly aware of just how powerful this technology is, how could you ever maximize its effect? What if you're missing out? What if there's more benefit that you could be getting, but you're not because you're not accountable? If you know you're missing sleep, if you know you're distracted, if you know it's not helping, ease up. But how can you do it if you don't even know how much time you're spending on it? Sometimes it might feel like you're not spending that much time on it, but you'd be surprised when you actually look where I'm spending my time and how quickly it goes. Be intentional about your time, especially that screen time, because it goes so quickly. When you have control of something powerful, it's important that you know as much as you can about it, especially if it's going to benefit you in the long run. Strengths, weaknesses, potential pitfalls, ways you could be distracted, things that could harm you. When we have access to such powerful tools, graphics better than ever before, processing faster than ever before, now more than ever, you should be intentional about the way you spend your time, because these things are so good they can almost feel addictive if you allow them to be. If you aren't intentional about where you spend your time, somebody else can do it for you. If you told most people throughout the entire history of mankind, there will be a device that will allow you to connect with people anywhere across the world. You can build and create wealth, you can create businesses, you can spark dialogue, you can watch moments of history frozen in time where you can learn almost anything, and access to pretty much every bit of information will be at your fingertips. They allow us to build and create wealth, to innovate, to create dialogue, to learn, to grow, to share with others, to connect with humans on a level that's far greater than we ever could do in a simple physical world. With that level of power has to come some things that you gotta be aware of. Taking inventory of how you spend your time on it has to be at the top of that list. Because when you can access literally whatever your mind can think of, that could either be a slippery slope to distraction and negativity and nothingness, or it could be a beautiful path to elevation and growth and you becoming your best self. The distractions are plenty. The ways in which you could be sidetracked are plentiful. The ways in which you could build and grow are plentiful. Which one will you choose? How will you choose to be intentional about your time? And what is the purpose that you'll use to fuel it all? This is the Infinite Evolution. The world is literally in your hand, a room for opportunity and growth and feedback and so much more. But what will you do with it? How much time will you spend with it? Are you up to date on your screen time? Do you know what your screen time looks like? Are you intentional about making it look the way it is? Can any of us afford to really not? Time is precious, and we must take inventory. Have you been intentional about setting and creating a schedule for just how much time you spend? If you haven't, it's never too late. This is the Infinite Evolution.